Hi, everyone. This is Cyndi, and welcome. I'm so happy you are here to this edition of the Living in Oneness podcast. It's hard to believe that we've been doing this for over half a year already. And man, it feels good. And I am so excited to be here and to be joined by my beautiful friend, Rona Marren. Hi, Rona.
Hi, Cyndi. Hello. I'm happy to be here too.
I was laughing because this is mostly an audio podcast and Ron is waving to everyone. So I'm sure you can hear and feel that energy of that welcome. So before we get started talking about today's topic, which is aptly named choices, there is an invitation for you to slow everything down. If you're listening to me right now, it's because there's something here in this next hour or so for you. There is something in what Rona and I share that with your choice, your decision will open a portal into something new, something perhaps unexpected, a new perception of who you are, what the world is, and how to live your best life. You're here, you're listening. So it's really just a shift in focus to make this, what Ron and I are sharing with you, inviting you into now. It's a shift in focus, essentially, to move from allowing this to be some level of background in your awareness to foreground. You may even consider letting everything else go. Now, if you're driving, allow the part of your consciousness and awareness that keeps you safe on the road to continue to be very aware of where you are spatially. Yeah, please. If you're operating any kind of heavy or dangerous, if you're chopping vegetables, getting things ready for dinner, go ahead and do that. Not talking about that. Talking about, you'll notice that there's always, or there tends to be in the average human being, a number of different storylines going on in the mind at one time. For those of us that meditate, it becomes even easier to see and hear and look at all the different voices, all of the different things that are happening in the mind all at one time. And whether you recognize it or not, you're only really ever paying attention to one of them. So this is really an invitation to let go of your to-do list, let go of, what you're going to say when you call Aunt Sally later, your concerns about how your daughter, your son, your husband, your wife is handling life, how to pay your bill or what the doctor told you whatever it is, Sometimes I discover random conversations in there that have absolutely nothing to do with anything going on in my world, but they seem to be taking up a lot of space. And so the invitation is to let all of that go and bring us into the foreground of your awareness, just for now. What do you think, Rona? Sound good?
It sounds great because this is where it's happening.
So instead of giving you Rona's bio, I can tell you this is not the first time that Rona and I have done a podcast together, and you will see in the history where we've done it before. And so I'd love for you to just go back, and you can get the bio there. Rona and I have been together for a couple of years now. Her story of choosing to do the world differently is inspiring and brings chills to my mind, chills to like just my beingness as I sit in it. And that's really what we want to talk about now. What it really means to choose truth, what it takes, how much time it takes, all of those other things. So with that, Rona, even before you know me, I can tend to talk, but what does this mean to you, this topic of choices?
Well, thanks, Cyndi. I like I said, I'm honored to be here. I love sharing how I got here and what it's like now. And choices today, they mean freedom. They mean absolute freedom, to have that ability to not get caught up in what you were suggesting, the thoughts in my mind, and even externally what's going on in my world, to have that choice, to be able to step back and make a better decision about what to do, what to say, where to go next, to have that choice.
How long does it take you to make a new choice?
Oh, a nanosecond today. At first, there were a couple of processes or ways of going about this. And I had a couple of Post-its around just to remind me things, rest and awareness, or little cues for me around the house. But today it's just a simple hand on the heart and going into that stillness and making a new choice from there. The first choice is to go into the stillness. That's the first choice.
So I'm going to be really honest. Oh, and I got emotional. So this is for somebody. When I can feel that little fluttering in the heart and this spaciousness, I know that what is about to be shared has the potential to shift things. Rona and I are both participating in holding a loving, open, energetic space for people that are moving into this work, sometimes for the very first time, through the 40-day program for transformation with Lisa Natoli. And if you've never taken that course, cannot recommend it highly enough. It is 100% free, has always been free, will always be free. And you'll find information on the teachersofgod.org website. You can register, you can begin immediately. Essentially, there's 3 days of prep work followed by 40 days of daily emails, messages, short videos, invitations to basically shelve your problems and trying to fix your life for 40 days, and then stepping into a new way of being. So wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, registering for the 40-day program is an easy no-brainer, and it's a choice. And then you could choose to register. You could choose to show up 100% or 50%, but showing up free for that course, for that free course, is a choice. Completely transformed everything I knew and who I thought I was. We're holding space for about 1,000 people who are going through the course right now. And I've been getting private messages. I've been in communication with different people. And some of the messages are, and we're going to go through that and a couple other things that are coming in every day, because the world gives us the opportunity to see how we're experiencing life and then choosing something new, right? So this particular message said something like, I would love all these things that I would love what you're saying, but the world won't let me. The world won't let me. You know, the people around me don't believe in this spiritual hogwash, and they're telling me I'm wrong, and I don't have the time, and I feel so awful, and I wish I could, but the world won't let me feel as good as what you're promising I can. I don't have the time. At any given moment. And yeah, it's a habit to believe that we are a victim to the world, right? So at first, we don't even see it. But if you're here listening to us right now, then you're not unconscious. You're not, there's something in you that knows that there's another way, right? There's another way to see things. So I'm going to tell you that believing that you don't have time, or believing that you're being attacked by the world and you wish you could, and you don't have time to do the work that allows you to be in a different space, isn't true. It's just a choice to see the world different. A choice to decide that you are not a victim. I am not a victim of the world I see. I've chosen my relationship with everything, and I can step back and pause and see it differently. Thoughts?
What I'm finding these days is in response to, people around me don't believe this, or they think that I'm goofy or whatever. These days it's very private for me. I'm blessing and loving from a place of this inner quiet space, and nobody knows I'm doing it. But I do have a community of people, Cyndi included, where I can freely speak about these ideas and these truths. And that fortifies me to walk back into this illusionary world and not take it so seriously, and not feel like I have to change anybody else. I don't have that feeling like I have to explain myself anymore for these beliefs that have come to me. And that's a choice too. I used to want to tell everybody everything that I was doing and everything about me. And I've become a lot quieter these days about what I'm doing, and this relationship, this beautiful relationship that I'm developing with awareness.
It wasn't that long ago, Rona, when you were living a different type of relationship with the world. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then the choice to do something different, and then how it felt in those first days in the 40-day, and then living in oneness and the different things? We're not here to sell any of our products. We're here to discuss the time it takes to decide to do things differently. Can you talk a little bit about your memory of the before and after, and really the choices and what it took to hold still to those choices, especially in the beginning?
Sure. I'd be happy to. When January of 2020 came along, right before the pandemic hit, my life looked very differently to me than it does today. And you'll understand, I think, what I mean by that. At that time, I had a feeling of being trapped. I'm the mom of two beautiful children. At that time, my daughter 18 and my son 20. My daughter Kylie has severe cerebral palsy. She was born with that disorder. And for 18 years, to the best of our ability, we flew her to every doctor, did every therapy, and saw did every modality possible to try to find the magic wand to turn her into a typical child. I was exhausted. I was taking care of her 24/7. I had help, of course, my husband and her therapist, who's been very close in our lives ever since Kylie was 2. But I was at my wit's end. Medically, she had been going downhill. She was experiencing seizures, and it was all very scary. At one point, I accepted that perhaps she would no longer be on this planet at some point. And oh my God, that was a devastating thought for me to have. So I also work a program of recovery. And so I've been doing that for 25 years. And so I developed a relationship with what we call a God of our understanding, and had been praying and asking for guidance and courage and strength from that power greater than me. But what I understand today is I still thought that power was outside of Rona. And so in that January, I said to my mentor and sponsor in the program, I said, Maureen, I just want a little joy in my life. That's exactly how I put it. I was being very honest about how I was feeling about things. I was defeated, depressed, and hopeless. Really, I can't describe it any other way. So she and I prayed together, and she said, I believe that your request is going to be answered. So let's just see how this goes, And I had tried to read A Course in Miracles about 3 years earlier than that. I had also joined a Facebook group, did not understand any of it, would read some of the posts, and it was like in another language, even though it was English. But I've come to understand today that I believe that's how Lisa Natoli popped up on my Facebook, because she did. And it said 40 days to transformation. And at this point, it was about June. So for the January to June, a few things did change. What changed was the world went into pandemic mode and met me where I was at. Now everybody was trapped. And so the feeling that I had had on my own became one that everybody was expressing in their own way. And also in our recovery meetings, we started to meet on Zoom. And so the people I wasn't getting to see anymore because I was home with my daughter, I was seeing them every morning on the computer. And things started to change. I got a little hope back. So I decided to take Lisa's course, and I was very excited about that. I didn't know what to expect at all. I just clicked on the link and registered. That's all I did. I felt a pull, and that's what we talked about in our previous podcast, Cyndi, was about that invitation. I felt a real calling that this was part of this call to joy. And so I began the 40 days. And, like Cyndi said, it's daily video, something to read, maybe something to write and think about for the day. It didn't take a lot of time. And what I loved about it, there was no shoulds. As Cyndi presented it, it was like, just listen. If you don't want to do the work, no big deal. If this is not what you were looking for, no big deal. But what happened to me, it was what I was looking for. Lisa uses a lot of the messages that in the Course in Miracles, and that her 40-day program is what really introduced me to the teachings. And I became hungry for them. And my vision started to change because that program deals a lot with the idea of grievances. And I will tell you that I had done a number of inventories in my recovery program on resentments. And I asked for them to be removed. But they hadn't been up until that point. For whatever reason, I was still very angry at this God out there and my daughter and all these things. I was still very angry. So when she presented the idea of grievances and how they're fences and how they keep me separate, it opened something up in me. And the idea that it's not a God out there that I'm praying to, it's self to self. I am the light of the world. When she said that for the first time, it was like bells went off for me. Can this be true? Because there's somewhere inside that I had felt that for a long time. But that little flame had kind of got dampened and extinguished a little bit, you know? I was tired, very tired. The 40 days finished, and I thought, well, at about day 30, I started to get worried. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? I can't lose this. These teachings make me feel so good on a daily basis. All it took was 10 minutes in the morning for connection. And throughout the day, noticing what I was thinking and how I was thinking about myself, my situation, and my beautiful daughter. And I had the opportunity to speak with Lisa. And she told me to write down all the things the good things that Kylie brought in my life. And that was a turning point to get that down on paper. Because intellectually, I could always say that to you. Oh, I'm grateful. Oh, she's the best thing for my selfishness. Oh, God picked me, don't you know? That's what you all tell me. I didn't really feel that on the inside at all. I felt like I had produced a broken baby and that all my dreams were gone. Selfish to the extreme, but that's the way I thought. And listening to that for 20 years on the inside created a very, very sick person. Not a bad person, but a sick person. And Lisa helped me get to the other side of that with these practices. I learned to see myself as not a body, which is one of those big teachings in ACIM. And then I started to see Kylie as not a body. I started to see her as a beautiful spirit, as whole and complete and eternal. And I was speaking with the ACIM community, the Teacher of God community, about this now and talking about it in an honest way. So at the end of those 40 days, when they said that they were getting ready to offer this course, Living in Oneness, for the first time, that Lisa and Bill had come up with a structure and a teaching that they were living themselves and having direct experience and offering it to us as a community, I was all in. And then I found out how much money it was. And I was, oh no. But by this time I had a practice developed and I truly believed just to the bottom of my heart that I am as God created me. And it was teaching me this practice that with any thought I could pause in a moment and ask to be guided. And one particular day, I'm not sure if I had reached out to Cyndi or not yet, but I was in my office and it came up, it was nagging at me that I wanted to take that course. And I put my hand on my heart and I said, I just don't know what to do. When I opened my eyes lit upon a greeting card tucked way in the back behind something. And when I pulled that out, it was a card from my father who had passed away 4 years earlier. And I opened it up and I touched his handwriting. And in my head, I heard, take the damn course. I will pay for it. And I laughed. And I'm getting those chill bumps right now because I know today we don't go anywhere. We're just in a bodysuit. And so immediately I paid for that course and I took it. And it just built on everything that I had begun learning in the 40 day. And it started to teach me how to put this practice into daily life and have direct experience if I choose to. I can walk around and sleep. I can go to sleep and stay there. And I can be as miserable as I want to be. But what living in oneness taught me is that is not the way God wants me to live. God really does want me to be happy and joyful and not to feel trapped. And I got involved in helping out a little bit on the side with the teachers of God. And that just immersed me in the teachings and these choices. It was all about choices. I'm sure this is where Cyndi's going to tell you the story about how I didn't want to work for them. But it was a choice. I wanted to be with them, but I didn't want to work for them. And it's just such a great choice to have made. My life has changed. I went to Colorado 3 weeks ago. I hadn't traveled or been on a trip due to the fear what would happen, what I needed to be here all the time. In case something happened to Kylie, I needed to be here. And I don't need to anymore. And she has begun to just flourish and grow, and her medical, physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies are all phenomenally more joyful, phenomenally full of light. And she is back to enjoying her life again. Right now, as we speak, she is out with a person that she knew from her high school. She graduated this year, and she's out with her, going out for lunch, driving around in her van without her mama, without her therapist, on her own, doing what she wants to do, free, making her choices too now. And so that's the version that I guess awareness is asking me to tell today. And I'm sure somebody needed to hear that, but I am no longer trapped. If I feel trapped, that too is a choice. I am choosing to feel that way because that is an illusion.
Love the pause. And just this invitation to choose, to take in the story you just heard and know that it's your own. Our stories, the clothes we put on may all look different, but the energy behind them are the same. So I'm back, lighting up again with some of the comments we're seeing and the questions and people's frustrations, because this belief that the past dictates our present and our future, i.e. the world has always been this really scary place, and I've always had to protect myself to be okay, and this person hurt me and this problem exists. When we carry that, like we're carrying the world on our shoulders, it's like we continually pull it into our presence, and we create our future with it. When we choose something different, now let a new perception come to me. There's some fits and starts in the beginning, especially, and sometimes even years and years and years later, we hit these pockets of resistance and the belief in the world as something that we have to defend ourselves against, or something that keeps us from who we really are. It's a habit. It's a habitual way of being. So saying yes to the 40-day, or saying yes to living oneness, or saying yes to whatever program or process or teacher or new way, new door is lighting up for you. The saying the yes, which I think is a big part of what we talked about the last time you and I were together, is the first step. And then choosing to continue to sit in that yes is is what it takes, you know. So um, the world, for a while anyway, you know, when I ask inner guidance to help me, I keep seeing a chicken without its head, you know, this idea that when chickens are, when their head is chopped off, there's still this automatic response, and you could see these chickens running around the field without a head on, you know. That happens for a while. And can you talk about those moments, especially like we have now the blanket big picture. The key is it doesn't mean that the world doesn't seem real and overwhelming and the emotions don't continue to rise and we don't have these bad or seemingly suffering moments after the choice is made. Can you talk about what it took for you to choose truth, to choose the new way of being, to choose to stand in knowing that you're the light of the world, even when the world was trying to convince you otherwise? Do you have a memory of how that feels? And can you share at all about what it took to stand in the truth, even when it didn't seem true?
Well, that's the thing about the beginning of it. You know, we waver back and forth for sure. And for me, I think my morning devotion, which is something that I made a commitment to when we were doing the 40 days. I've always had a morning practice of some sort, but being immersed in some of the ACIM lessons each morning has really helped me. I started doing the non-dual workbook lessons that Bill offers. And that kept me very grounded each morning to have a focus. And so, you know, with that process, every day there's a lesson. And so I would put that on a Post-it and I would take that with me throughout the day. And life still happens. You know, there's still bills to pay. For me, there's still caregiving to do. There's lots of caregiving to do. And I think that morning time, it doesn't have to be that long. It doesn't have to be hours. For me, 5 or 10 minutes of just quiet time, remembering what my greatest desire is. You know, my desire is to know myself. That's the capital S, self. And I want my desires to remember to bring that choice with me throughout the day. So there's the tone gets set. So the day happens. The coffee gets made, the breakfast gets fed, and little things will come up. And the great thing is as I kind of said before, nobody needs to know that I'm doing this. If I feel a negative thought or physical emotion begin to rise, because sometimes our caregiving can be difficult, I can just pause for a moment, just remember that love is surrounding us, that everything is perfect, that all is well here right now. These are some of the things that I believe, that I've been shown. And then I proceed with whatever task that is. When that task is done, I've been getting in the habit of pausing again just for a moment. It doesn't have to be in a position. It can be as I'm walking from one room to the next. And I just remind myself, what's next? And my life is not big, you know, I'm not a guru. I'm not, you know, doing all that. I'm a stay-at-home mom, caregiver, domestic kitten, CFO, you know. And what happened is the more I've turned this desire over to this awareness through my day, these tasks, anything from the mundane to the difficult, they've all gotten so much easier. And there's a flow. You know, it doesn't mean I don't get tripped up. I mean, I do. I get tripped up, but I've also learned not to be guilty, not to beat myself up for it. Just get back right on there and just pause again. You know, notice what I'm doing, watch. That's some of the technique or the process that I use through the day is just, and then sometimes I'll sit down and read another lesson at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon or listen to one of our podcasts. You know, right now I'm doing the 40-day again. So I'll listen to today's, you know, lesson today again. I've immersed myself in this because I love it. The attraction and the magnetism and the invitation called me in. And once I got a taste of it, the truth really rang for me. You know, it's really spoken to me. And life is a heck of a lot more fun living these days, even the mundane stuff. Even the arguments with my 86-year-old mother when she doesn't want to take her vitamin, you know?
I'm listening to you and I'm sitting in, well, I can't even go back to where I was 25 years ago. You know, I have like a postcard kind of 3 cent, oh, Cyndi had severe panic disorder. Cyndi was an engineer. Cyndi had a life that was full of a lot of pain, a lot of physical stuff that, I mean, when I say severe panic disorder, it was severe. Like, you know, I can remember trying to take care of 2 toddlers with an ocular migraine that occurred as a result of this panic disorder, you know. Crazy, dysfunctional marriage, falling apart house, 2 in diapers, you know, serious unconsciousness, you know, in pain and suffering. Yeah. So the difference today is, well, I'm not who I was then. There are moments where I believe that the world isn't real, or moments where I'm hit. Even yesterday, I was driving around and there were another level was coming up to heal. It was so interesting. So there was a sensation in the physical body that said, and I said, oh, look at that. That's what anxiety looks like in the body, right? There was a physical sensation of anxiety occurring in the body. And because of my practice and where I am, there was a choice made to not attach a story to it. It was just a physical sensation. I saw some thoughts and I chose not to believe the thoughts. Instead, there was a choice in that moment to go, this is just another level of letting go of stuff that had been stored in the body. I knew that with every ounce of my being, that a new level of awareness was happening in this, in the Cyndi story, let's put it that way, right? And so some old energy was rising up. There was a choice to allow it to just come up and be aware of it. It only lasted a few moments. And I knew that 20 some odd years ago, it could have blossomed into this whole kind of not sleeping for days and panic disorder. And I am a victim in the world. And look at all the things that, you know, it's the same type of energy pattern that is generational and global, only now it just flowed through the Cyndi story, got transmuted and released, right? And so what I'm seeing in people's storytelling in the 40-day, or people that, you know, come to me for help sometimes, and it's not all that hard to shift the story. The thing is, just like you said, the key is beginning at the end. So what do you want? What do you want? If you're listening to me right now, you know, Rona started her story by stating that she had a prayer that said, I want more joy. And then she was willing to do everything differently. And now there's joy in every aspect of her life. She's even, for the first time in 20 years, picking up and leaving her daughter and getting on a plane. You know, she didn't say, tell the world, I'm in South Carolina. I got on a plane with friends and went and spent 3 days. For the first time in 20 years, I just hung out and looked at the mountains and ate good food and slept in my own bed with no, right? That's joy. Daughter, who for the first time in 20 years is socializing, you know, not with mom. Like everything changes, none of which could have been imagined in a world filled with anxiety and pain. And look at this world needs to change in order for me to be okay. No. So the very first thing is to decide, what do I want? I want truth. Rona was talking about, I'm going to be joy. I'm going to be love, right? And then through the 40-day and living in oneness and these different practices, we understand that those ways of being are independent of the world we see. The world we see actually is an outpouring of what we used to believe, which is, oh, this is a hard world. Oh, I'm a body. Oh, I'm a victim of circumstances outside of my control. None of that's true. We just see it because there was a belief in it. So now we step back, and there's this period of transition, especially where the old world and the old ways of being continue to work on us, and we have the opportunity to practice not believing them, right? And that could be kind of tricky. So it becomes really important to hold in our mind our true way of being, what we truly want. Yeah.
Yes. You know, I've had the opportunity lately. There's been a couple issues in the news that, you know, some people close to me have a charge about. And it's interesting because I don't want to attack or defend anything anymore. And I'm just listening to them tell the story. And the choice that I've made is that I don't have to agree or disagree. I can just be present. So when things are happening in the news, what I've been taught is, you know, I can just sink back into that quiet space that I've been talking about and heal and comfort and bless. You know, a lot of people are very upset about things happening in the news. And I've got to say, you know, what I've learned too is, do you know somebody directly that's being affected by that, first and foremost? Now, there's a chance somebody listening to us probably is. And there are issues in there that we're all affected by right now. But it's my choice if I lose my peace over those issues. It's just an effect of things and the way that I've been thinking. And I don't have to get a charge. And I don't have to tell anybody they're wrong anymore. I'm really finding, and I think our friend Regina Dawn Akers mentioned that one time about she just didn't have her inner anymore to fight about these issues. And that's really what's happening to me lately. I just, you know, let me bless. Let me send some light to that situation. Let me send some love to those images or those people I'm hearing about or seeing on that box, you know, and let me go back to what's right in front of me, because this is my world, is here, you know.
Well, through all these choices and decisions for truth and joy and peace, right? One of the things that is now my experience and my knowledge, my knowingness, is that fear is disempowering, worry is fear. Having opinions about things that are outside of what I have action, like what is mine to do in the world, is also disempowering and strengthens the belief in a me and a you. So it's very counterintuitive to those who believe the ego's narrative. The thing is, worry doesn't help. Um, and actually disempowers. So if there was something for you to do to shift something, you can't do it from a state of worry in an empowering state. Fear doesn't help. Anger is just couching judgment about things that are outside of your control. All of those energies actually feed the energy of victim, which is simply not your truth and keeps you disempowered. So just like when you sit and choose to be in truth, what you will notice in ways that are surprising is that action can flow through you in a way that affects the world in a loving, beautiful, peaceful way, without ever needing to get a charge about anything. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it just happens as a natural result of choosing this work.
Yes.
And choosing to withdraw, believing what the old way of being used to tell you was true. It's just that simple, right?
One of the best choices that I made, and I think it's a choice, is to accept that idea that we are not separate bodies. That was the biggie right in the beginning. You know, I'd heard about that before, but, you know, getting soaked into the Course in Miracles lessons in this community, I could see the understanding of that and begin to come and know that. So based on that idea that we are not separate and that this ego has been created to keep me separate, there comes another choice. Am I going to listen to that voice that you were just talking about, the one of fear and hatred and resentment? Or am I going to listen to that other voice that's there as well, but tends to get crowded out by all the noises? The voice of awareness, of God, of pure presence. Which voice am I going to listen to? And I can't hear that if I'm just barreling through the day. So that's why this practice for me of short moments many times, I get to choose again and again and again. And the more that I've practiced, the easier it's become. And it's the choice that I obviously want now. I don't want any of that anymore. You know, it's funny when we get together and you say, I want you to fill us in, you know, what it was like before. I think, oh, I don't want to tell that story anymore, you know? But I know how important it is because I had to hear where others came from to make that shift. You know, and you can make that shift today.
Well, I was actually going to bring it. Well, this choice we're talking about isn't a one-time thing. I think that's the way I want to put it. You know, the Course teaches about the eternal now, the holy instant. What I'm learning through some of my practices is that linear time isn't what we think it is. Let's just put it that way. And Lisa touches on it even in the 40-day, you know, jumping your timelines. So linear time is not what our conditioned mind tells us. Let's just leave it at that as we get close to the end of this hour, which is crazy, right?
Yep.
It is the only time you can make this choice for your true way of being, this choice to be only love, this choice for joy, this choice for truth, this choice of being here now, is now. So in this moment now, there may be a thought that pops up that says, but I am a victim of, or I can. You can right now choose to be okay, choose to be peace, choose a new way of being, choose your true way of being. You could do it now. And then the mind will say, but tomorrow I have. Tomorrow is actually an extension of what you're choosing now. So choose to be okay and at peace and love and who you are in truth now. And then the conditioning will say, but yesterday was really hard and I've spent the last 60 years. All truth teachings tell you is that the past never existed. And what you believe the past happened is actually a distortion and not real. And if you're here, then A Course in Miracles has touched you somehow. And every page in A Course in Miracles suggests to you that the moment you let the past go, that's the only thing that forgiveness is. You have the ability to choose to let everything you think go. Just choose it now. Be in the choose for something different now. Just now. The choice can only be made now. And then the conditioning mind again and again and again. And every time the conditioned mind attempts to pull you out of now, and you notice, I have Bill in my head right now, frequent, what does he say? Many frequent.
Short moments.
Short moments, many times. Every time you notice you're not here now in the peace and joy and beauty and expansiveness of now, you have a choice. You could stay in the before or the later, or you can choose now. And ultimately, the practice becomes just that. And it becomes easier and more peaceful and more expansive and more beautiful with practice.
And just practicing that presence many times through the day, literally it could just be for a second. Just practice that presence, go there. That way, when stuff comes up, right, I'm more likely to go there. And then, I love the holy instant. I love the borderland. You and my good friend Cyndi spoke about that. I love that. That's where I just take all this chitty chatter that's going on, that conditioned mind stuff. They should be doing this. They shouldn't be doing that. I should be doing that. And I just take it right to that altar of truth. What I'm thinking about in that moment has got nothing to do with the truth of what I am. Nothing. And I thought to myself, can it be this easy? Why is reminding myself of this truth? How is that going to change anything? And there was just enough trust there that I started to try it. And it worked. And now the effects that I see in my physical world are visions of love and joy and goodness. And if things get crazy, I'm so likely to be like, okay, this is what's happening. What should I do next? And the answer is like, chill out. Do nothing for a moment. Rona. It's just such a wonderful way to live. It's my choice, joy or not, happiness or not, serene, peace, my choice.
Thank you for being a little bit on the speechless side. I'm feeling the choice of being love, of knowing love, of being here now, not only with my friend Rona, but with everyone who's listening. It's so cool. I love, by the way, getting the feedback that I've been getting. If you've been moved by what we've shared, we would love to hear your story and how you've been moved. If you want a little bit of what we've got, there's a friend in the 40 days, like, I want what Lisa has. It becomes real funny. But come and join us in the 40-day, or live the next time we do Living in Oneness, or any of those things. It would be awesome to see you there. If you have a question or you just want to connect, get a virtual hug, leave a comment, send an email, whatever you want to do. I get comments all the time from these podcasts that we do, and I only need to know that one heart has been opened a little bit or shifted a little bit to know. I don't need even that, to tell you the truth. I can feel it now. But Rona, is there anything else you want to share before we call this?
I just love being here. If you had told me a couple of years ago, this is what I'd be doing, and this is how I would feel, and this is what my life would be like, I wouldn't have believed you. But I mean, this is just the best. I love hanging out in this community, and, I just couldn't ask for much more. Just the joy, I got what I asked for, and now it's my job to keep it fresh, because I got to keep choosing. So.
All right, everyone. Thank you for spending this time with Ron and I in the Living in Oneness section of the Awareness podcasts. We love that you are here. There is a new podcast recording every single week. So wherever you're listening from us, click whatever button's there so you can be reminded when we go live. You can listen to all of the previous podcasts, and they all have something to share with you that will open another door or portal, or remind you of just how absolutely beautiful you are. Thank you so much for being here. Until the next time, just know that I love us very, very much.
I love you, Cyndi, and I love you all too.
Bye-bye.